The discovery happened purely by chance. Afghanistan, 2010, Helmand Province's southern reaches. My platoon got orders to reinforce some forgotten combat outpost that barely registered on military maps. Forward operating base, Raheem, just a collection of dirt walls, sandbag fortifications, and corroded HESCO barriers perched atop a ridgeline. No proper logistics chain, no regular patrol rotations. Only a skeleton crew of Marines who cycled through to maintain surveillance over the valley below. When my squad arrived, the place felt abandoned. The entrance hung crooked, hadn't been properly secured in who knows how long. The communications antenna tilted at an angle, held together with military tape and 550 cord. 3 Marines occupied the interior, all gaunt, twitchy, burning through cigarettes non-stop. Their welcome wasn't standard military banter or tactical briefings. They simply stated, "Should have stayed at base, boys." That told us everything. Time blended together sandstorms, sporadic incoming fire from unknown positions, crushing heat that never let up. Yet the Taliban weren't what unsettled me. Something else lurked beneath this ground. Day 3, Corporal Mason and I started reinforcing a section of perimeter wall that had collapsed from rainfall. Our entrenching tools struck against hardpack, metal scraping stone. Mason's shovel hit something that didn't sound right, hollow, metallic. We cleared the soil, revealing a carved stone panel. Strange symbols covered its surface, weathered but legible. Not Arabic script, not Dari, not Pashto. Nothing familiar, ancient, predating the fort, predating everything. Mason tried joking. "Thing looks like a burial cover." Others crowded around. Sergeant Green knelt, traced the engravings with gloved fingers, said quietly, "Document it, bury it again, not our concern." Command had different ideas. After we reported via satellite phone, they ordered us to keep it exposed. Specialists were inbound for examination. No further details, no timeline. Nobody rested properly that night. The atmosphere inside the outpost grew dense, like heat had intensified despite temperatures dropping after dark. During my 0200 watch, I detected murmuring. Initially assumed it was guys in the bunker talking, but both were unconscious when I checked. The murmuring persisted, like wind through stones, except the air stayed motionless. Every nerve ending fired. Next morning, Private Ruiz started vomiting. Claimed he'd dreamed about men trapped beneath stone, scratching at walls. Insisted he'd felt fingers grip his legs while sleeping. Green dismissed it as dehydration effects, but nobody held eye contact during his explanation. 48 hours later, one Marine who'd been stationed here before us vanished, simply gone. Weapon remained beside his rack, boots beneath his bunk. We searched everywhere, the ridgeline, the wadi, the entire valley floor. No evidence of conflict, no tracks leading anywhere. Like he'd evaporated. That evening, I scanned the perimeter through night vision. Beyond our walls, I spotted movement near the uncovered panel. Initially thought it was Mason's similar height, similar stance. When it rotated toward me, the face appeared distorted, features sliding like liquid over glass. I blinked empty space. I kept quiet. Telling Mason or Green would make it real. But I understood then, we hadn't merely found some ancient artifact. We'd breached something. Whatever lay beneath that panel hadn't wanted disturbance. The worst aspect? Command still hadn't deployed those specialists. We remained isolated with it while the earth beneath us started changing. I'm Matt Keller, Lance Corporal 0311 Infantry, 2nd Squad, Echo Company, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Tour. 24 years old, figured I'd experienced everything this nation could deliver. Raheem proved me wrong, very wrong. Our assignment was placeholder duty, secure the ridge, monitor the valley, report traffic along irrigation channels feeding southern agricultural areas. Company headquarters sat 2 valleys away, upslope proper fortifications, vehicle depot. We functioned as early warning for an overlooked sector nobody wanted to lose, but nobody wanted to properly resource. The outpost resembled a container on stilts, HESCO barriers, dried mud, scrap lumber, single access point, with a metal gate that required a low kick to operate. One observation post north side, another south, each featuring sandbag emplacements and salvaged steel plating from shipping containers. Interior held several canvas shelters, a dugout bunker, a plywood structure we designated the command post, and a generator that wheezed more than operated. We maintained one M240 Southside, another North. Everyone else carried M4 carbines. Green hauled an M203 like an extension of himself. We stored a few anti-tank weapons nobody anticipated using. Claymore mines sat in a container with detonators secured separately. Trip flares proved more practical. We strung them like decorations along the concertina wire, hoping the posts held. Water arrived in bladders tasting of chemicals. The latrine consisted of a ditch with plywood seating and a tarp that snapped constantly. When winds picked up, dust penetrated tent seams, coating your mouth. I stored my weapon inside my sleeping system to minimize fouling. Never really worked. Sergeant Green led our squad. Solid build, possessed that steadiness that made you steady when your pulse wanted to race. His tone made you trust him. Mason functioned as my team leader, sharp, overly inquisitive. He'd taught me blindfolded disassembly of the 240 during my initial deployment. Never let me forget his 30-second time advantage. Ruiz represented our greenest member single deployment, thin frame, reliable under pressure, but carried anxiety like extra gear. The three Marines we replaced seemed like uniformed phantoms. Corporal O'Leary, Lance Corporal Khan, and a communications specialist named Price. They maintained irregular sleep schedules and startled at everything. O'Leary clutched rosary beads constantly. Khan displayed permanent dark circles. Despite us taking over duties for 2 days, Price kept verifying the satellite phone's charge like it might rescue him. Their handover was rushed. Sectors of fire, call signs, known enemy positions on the opposite ridge. They indicated dead space in the wadi, the trail locals used for market access over the hill, locations where bomb makers preferred working after dark. When we inquired about the stone panel, silence fell. O'Leary stated, "Leave it exposed." Command's directive. Price added, "Keep locals away from it." Mason asked about the symbol meanings. Khan shook his head, said they weren't local. They shared zero humor. That disturbed me most. We had an interpreter, Faird, who accompanied resupply convoys every few days. Early 30s, perceptive, could read situations well. His first visit, he wouldn't enter our perimeter. Stood by the gate, hands tucked away, staring at the panel. I asked if he could translate the symbols. He said they weren't language, not any he recognized. He regarded the ridge beneath us like it might wake up. He mentioned, "Villages call this place where prayers don't echo." I asked for clarification. He said it was somewhere prayers went silent. I wanted to dismiss that. I couldn't. Our operational tempo was straightforward theoretically. Daylight patrols along ridgelines and upper wadi for presence operations. Nighttime observation and interdiction of spotters or bomb placers. We maintained routines that made tactical sense. First squad handled perimeter security while second squad patrolled. Nights we switched. We documented coordinates for any fresh excavation. We observed orchards at dusk and pre-dawn. Radio checks every hour and whenever conditions shifted. The panel remained inside our perimeter near the southern fortification. Door-sized stone rectangle with raised edges and engravings cutting deeper at corners. We cleared dust each morning. I disliked contact with it. Felt cooler than surrounding Earth despite direct sunlight. Nobody acknowledged sensing that, but everyone did. We constructed a basic frame, draped camouflage netting to reduce glare. Weak justification for avoiding direct observation. Green contacted company headquarters the day following discovery, requesting those specialists. Static field response promised, weather delays at airfield, maintain position, preserve site integrity, don't disturb, report anomalies. That phrasing, anomalies. Like they anticipated specific reports matching existing criteria. We conducted presence patrol next morning, Mason leading. 5-man element, standard spacing, single column along ridgeline into wadi, returning via opposite slope on a goat trail above an abandoned well. The valley felt vacant, that emptiness that made you check your weapon's presence despite feeling the sling's weight. A shepherd observed us from distance, flock pressed against barren field. Wouldn't acknowledge our waves. He studied our outpost, then the hill beneath, then us again. When we approached, he turned away wordlessly. We discovered nothing that patrol, no trigger devices, no tripwires, no recent vehicle tracks near the road. Returning to base, Price informed us the missing Marine was named Lowe. He'd been manning North Wall solo when last seen. O'Leary claimed he saw Lowe descend from his position, walking toward the southern area. When they went to check, he'd vanished. Nobody exited the perimeter that night. They searched regardless. No blood, no footprints. Lowe had been anxious all week, then wasn't there. Green despised that account. He implemented protocols. Minimum two-man watches always. Nobody approaches the panel alone. Actual times logged at every shift change, not shorthand. He drilled us on base defense as if expecting. Battalion strength assault. It helped because action helped. Nighttime, the generator failed without warning. First occurrence during my shift, felt like the outpost dropped through reality. No mechanical sounds, no electrical hum. Just fabric against netting, sounding like distant water, might have been the road miles off, might have been my own circulation. I kept night vision active, even off-duty, because I disliked seeing the panel peripherally. We maintained weapons excessively. I shaved daily, regardless of observation. I wrote my sister, mentioned only missing decent coffee. Attempting to describe this place, I stopped after 2 lines. Couldn't explain a hill where prayers died. 4th day, Faird returned with the convoy, brought flatbread and tea from village leadership for weekly council meeting. Green scheduled it for next afternoon. I observed Faird circling the panel distantly, asked if we'd heard anything nocturnal. Not gunfire, not voices, anything resembling stories you tell yourself. I asked what stories villagers shared. He said they kept stories inside because walls were safer than open air. That evening, company called saying the specialist helicopter had turned around, dust and mechanical issues, rescheduled within 24 hours. The radio man sounded disinterested. I logged the transmission, laid on my rack, studying tent fabric. Material rose and fell with wind-like breathing. Mason snored for the first time since arrival, rough sound that made me grin in darkness. Ruiz mumbled while sleeping. Green sat outside the command post with red-filtered light and radio handset coiled around his hand. Nobody voiced it, but we all waited for the same thing, something to make this routine again. I didn't receive that, not that night. I woke from light sleep sensing ground movement beneath me. Not explosion, not earthquake, like something massive had shifted far below and the ridge remembered. I remained still, listening. Nothing. Generator, clicking, strap tapping, tent support, heart rate decreasing. Told myself it was imagination. Morning, I inspected the panel without touching. The engravings caught light strangely, lines that seemed to bend and straighten with minimal head movement. I stepped away, called Mason. He examined it, squinted, declared it unchanged from yesterday. Maybe so. I still removed my hand from my weapon to massage my neck. Skin felt cold despite sunshine. Specialists hadn't arrived. Council meeting in hours. Valley remained quiet. We stayed occupied, told ourselves that meant secure. First week's end, we understood Raheem's rhythm. Dawn arrived suddenly. No gradual brightening like stateside. Darkness, then valley, bathed in harsh illumination, making every stone identical. Dust bonded with equipment. Perspiration carved channels through facial grime. You hydrated until empty, still felt like your tongue was hide. We adapted to schedules because that's survival. Morning patrols before heat peaked, afternoon maintenance, 2-hour guard rotations after dark, weapon cleaning, flare checks, log entries, consume whatever rations you could tolerate, sleep in fragments, repeat. Documentation looked organized. Reality felt wrong. Most bases I'd occupied had activity. Even tiny outposts had conversation, generator noise, some life indicator. Raheem lacked that. The silence felt artificial. What sounds occurred wind on barriers. Distant livestock, loose gate metal stood out sharply like surrounding world was empty. O'Leary and Khan departed after 2 days, relieved to company headquarters. Price lingered awaiting transport, finally left with resupply. None offered typical Marine farewells. They collected gear, muttered about watching our backs, exited without backward glances. I'd visited enough hostile locations recognizing what affected them. Wasn't just fear of indirect fire or ambush. This location itself infected you. The stone panel occupied the southern area like an additional marine we tracked. Green included its status in daily reports, though nobody required it. Stone artifact intact, site secured. Mason started calling it the extra marine, jokingly. Never got laughs. Each dawn we cleared dust. Mason insisted engravings grew deeper daily. Green terminated that talk quickly, said we imagined things. Still, nobody made bearskin contact, gloves exclusively. Even through fabric, that unnatural cold transmitted. We treated the panel like equipment. Inspect, cover, report condition, like a generator or weapons system. Maybe that was the only method to avoid contemplating its true nature. Patrol routes circled the valley down Wadi, past abandoned well, through sparse orchards, returning via goat paths to ridgeline. Locals maintained greater distance than typical. Children didn't request candy or writing implements. Farmers stayed distant, heads down. Council elders were courteous, but avoided eye contact when questioned about the hill. One afternoon, I discovered small stones stacked on the trail near our position, balanced precisely like markers. Everyone halted, weapons ready, anticipating detonation. But no wires existed, no pressure devices, just rocks. Green scattered them, ordered movement. I observed Ruiz quietly reconstructing the pile that night by our gate. He offered no explanation. Nobody questioned it. Minor incidents accumulated, initially dismissed because soldiers witnessed strange occurrences in combat zones. During night watch with Mason, I kept detecting faint metallic tapping from the southern area. He claimed not hearing it. Following night, his shift, he woke me claiming he heard footsteps along the wall. We investigated. Nothing present. Trip flares activated twice weekly. When checked, no prints, no movement indication, just flares still burning on ground. Once, while maintaining my rifle, I glanced up, finding Ruiz seated outside command post staring at the panel. Not observing, staring like reading, lips moving, whispering inaudibly. I told him stop. He blinked like waking, swore no memory of being there. Day 10. Routine provided no comfort. Felt like containment, like the base held us in patterns while something else observed. Generator failed again one night, everything going black. I was in the tower with Green. Valley appeared void-like. No lunar light, no stars. Green stated, too quiet. Minute later, we both detected single gunfire, close, inside perimeter. We descended quickly. Night vision up, weapons ready. Everyone emerging from shelters. Nobody had discharged weapons. Chambers cold. We searched every corner, found nothing. No casings, no cordite smell, just gunshot echo that shouldn't exist. Mason suggested, maybe outside the wire. Green disagreed. He recognized what I did. That sound originated from the yard, right where the panel's Saturday sleep deteriorated. I woke with grit between teeth, convinced I'd been eating dirt. Ruiz described dreams of arms pulling him underground. Mason claimed seeing faces pressed against tent walls, shifting with wind. Me? I dreamed of Lowe, the missing Marine. Sitting on my rack, dust-covered, eyes vacant. Never spoke, just raised his hand, pointing towards southern fortification. Always woke immediately after. Told myself dreams meant nothing. But each awakening, I verified my boots remained under my bunk. When Faird returned for another council, he refused approaching the panel again. Green pressed about local knowledge. Faird said, ancient place, buried deliberately. They say builders never emerged. Which builders? Green asked. Faird shrugged. Pre-tribal, pre-Islamic. They call it the mouth that shouldn't open. We didn't repeat that aloud. Routine supposedly defeats fear. That's why we drill, why we maintain schedules. But at Raheem, routine amplified fear. Each patrol concluded identically. Each watch rotation passed identically. Every night, identical cold panel waited in southern, Yard. We weren't adapting. We were orbiting like dogs, recognizing something dangerous remained chained, waiting. And specialists never arrived. By day 12, Green stopped calling about it. Reports became shorter, less detailed. Like documenting it strengthened it. He gave one directive. Nobody approaches that panel solo, ever, period. Wish I could claim we obeyed, because the first incident approached. Started during Ruiz's watch, posted south wall with Mason, 2030 to 0100 hours, standard two-person rotation. I just racked out when Mason shook me conscious, eyes wide, whispering Ruiz disappeared. Initially thought he'd gone to relieve himself, but Mason's tone indicated otherwise. This wasn't normal. We searched tents thoroughly. No trace. Boots remained under his rack. Rifle too. Everything except Ruiz. Green assembled everyone in command post demanding explanations. Mason swore he'd been tower scanning Valley when Ruiz mentioned checking trip flare near panel. 2 minutes later, Mason called out, received silence. Descended to investigate yard empty. Panel uncovered. Remember Green's expression when Mason said that, like wanting to call him liar but couldn't. We equipped night vision, moved as squad, deliberate and slow. Panel sat in moonlight, engravings appearing freshly carved, dust swept aside like a hand had passed over. No Ruiz. We expanded search. Nothing on thermal imaging, no valley movement, no conflict signs, no prints except ours. Like Ruiz stepped into yard and ceased existing. We withdrew to command post, silent, green-paced. Wanted to report up but hesitated. Reporting missing Marine meant lockdown, investigations, documentation, command scrutiny. Also meant acknowledging something impossible occurred under his command. Finally called it in. Higher directed us to search, secure, await instructions. Specialists still en route. Could see doubt in Green's eyes. Didn't believe they'd come. We divided into fire teams, swept, ridge. Every step felt wrong. Ground beneath boots, colder than night should make it. Kept night vision active constantly, watching shadows twitch at lens edges. Checked Wadi, goat trails, orchard. Nothing, not a trace. Dogs leave tracks. Ruiz simply vanished. Regrouping, Mason appeared pale. Said he discovered something by the well. Cloth fragment caught on stone. Everyone leaned in under red light. Looked like Ruiz's sleeve portion. Problem was, cloth appeared old, pattern faded, sun-bleached, nearly tan, like years of exposure. Green grabbed it, pocketed it, stated, "Found nothing definitive." Everyone nodded, nobody believed it, nobody slept. Doubled watches, rotating hourly. By 0300, my head buzzed from exhaustion. Tower duty with Green when I spotted movement near panel. Figure standing motionless, head tilted skyward like stargazing. Green saw too, whispered, "Ruiz," and started descending. I grabbed him. That's not him, because it wasn't. Even through green enhancement, face appeared wrong, too pale. Lips pulled back like dehydrated. Eyes glowed faintly, animal-like. Then it folded, not crouching. Mean it bent backward like spine snapped in half, dropped flat onto panel soundlessly. I pulled Green back into tower. We both scanned intensely, yard empty. Dawn revealed tracks, bare footprints pressed into dirt around panel. Not single set, half dozen, various sizes, circling stone, overlapping, trailing toward wire. But wire wasn't breached, flares intact, impossible. Green didn't log it, told us all to document quiet night, nothing observed. Voice cracked saying it, which frightened me more than footprints. Mason pulled me aside later. Said he'd heard voices when Ruiz vanished, not whispers like I'd heard. Clearer, swore they spoke English, couldn't distinguish words, but rhythm was there, like subsurface conversation. Wanted to tell him he was breaking, but deep down knew he wasn't. Later afternoon, checking north wall, I caught decomposition smell on wind, decay like sun-exposed meat. I gagged, shirt over nose, but Mason claimed smelling nothing. Odor clung until sunset. That night, smell returned. This time everyone noticed. Green ordered search. thinking maybe animal crawled under wire and died. Found nothing, but returning inside, smell strongest near panel. We stood around it silently, weapons slung, eyes burning from stench, then instantly smell gone. Clean air like nothing occurred. That broke us more than smell itself. Something that strong doesn't simply vanish. After that night, Green changed, kept pacing command post, rubbing that cloth fragment Mason found, snapped over minor infractions, called higher less frequently until stopping completely. When Mason asked why, Green said, "They already know." First time I realized maybe command hadn't assigned us here randomly. First incident didn't conclude with Ruiz disappearing, ended with the sound. We were eating rations, everyone crammed in tent when it struck. Deep grinding so low it rattled gear. Not artillery, not seismic. Originated beneath outpost, beneath panel. Ground shook. Dust filtered from tent roof. Ration heaters clinked against ammunition containers, then stopped. Complete silence. We sat frozen, spoons suspended, waiting for recurrence. Didn't come, but everyone knew something below had moved, and eventually it would surface completely. We attempted normalcy after Ruiz vanished. Attempted maintaining patrols, maintenance, radio protocols, but you can't pretend when someone's gone without explanation. Silence between us grew denser daily. Mason broke first, started carrying his weapon everywhere, including sleep. Not unusual itself, but he kept safety disengaged. Woke one night finding him cross-legged by panel, muzzle pressed against engravings. Wasn't aiming, just pressing barrel against stone like trying to sense something. When I pulled him away, his eyes weren't quite present. "It's not properly sealed," he whispered. "You can feel airflow," informed Green. Green berated Mason publicly, but didn't stick. Following night, Mason was there again, circling panel, muttering. Green tried maintaining squad cohesion, but I saw his fractures too. Stopped shaving, stopped journal writing. Stared at radio handset like it accused him. When company called for reports, he'd key microphone. Just say, "Raheem," all quiet. Nothing more. Asked why he didn't push for specialists anymore. He said, if they were coming, they'd be here. Voice flat, like accepting abandonment. Felt like we'd been written off. Faird came for counsel again, but elders refused entering Outpost. Gathered outside wire, seated cross-legged in dust. Green went meeting them, fared alongside. I watched from tower. Old men pointed at ground beneath us. One spat in dirt, walked away. Faird returned, appearing disturbed. "They say you've exposed the silent mouth," he told Green. "Say no one should live above it." Green asked what would happen. Faird didn't respond, just asked our departure date. We didn't answer either. The grinding returned that night. Louder, longer, ground vibrated underfoot. Dust fell from bunker ceiling, ammunition containers slid across floor like being pushed. We rushed outside, weapons ready, thinking possible mortar impact. But no smoke, no craters, just panel humming faintly like containing a generator. Vibrations ceased after 10 seconds. Following silence worse than sound, Mason whispered, "It's awakening," Green told him, "Shut up." But nobody disagreed. 2 days later, Green ordered extended valley patrol. Logic simple. Keep moving. Stay busy. Prove this was just another area of operations. We moved at dawn, 7 strong, air sharp with cold, boot noise on gravel too loud. Halfway down Wadi, Mason stopped, pointed at dust ahead. Footprints, bare feet, dozens crossing repeatedly. No footwear, no sandals, no tire marks, just naked feet pressed deep like recent passage. We followed trail, led to dry creek bed, then terminated. No dispersal, no fading. Final prints ended mid-creek like person lifted straight up. Green called withdrawal. We returned. Nobody spoke entire way. That night, Mason finally broke completely. Started shouting while sleeping, thrashing so violently he tore mosquito netting. When we woke him, swore Ruiz was outside wire calling him. We tried calming him, then we heard it too. Voice carried on night wind, faint, extended. "Mason." We rushed to wall. Night vision up. Nothing but empty valley. Voice came again, closer. Mason tried climbing wire, screaming Ruiz needed him. Took everyone, restraining him. Fought like possessed, teeth exposed, fists flying. Green finally knocked him unconscious with single strike. We bound his hands with paracord, left him in command post. Nobody slept after. Dawn, I found Green sitting on tower steps, observing panel. Face gray, eyes bloodshot. Told me the cloth fragment Mason found wasn't just old looking, was old. He'd examined stitching, said it matched 1,970 uniform, possibly earlier. Said Raheem wasn't random assignment. Command knew what existed here. We're not holding terrain, he said. We're holding a lid. Asked how long it had been buried. Said long enough, nobody remembered. Should have been permanent. We lost another Marine that night, Corporal Duran. On watch north wall with me. Quiet shift, nothing moving. Looked away maybe 30 seconds, adjusting night vision. Turned back, Duran gone. His rifle across sandbags. Shouted his name, searched tower, climbed down, checking ground. Nothing. He'd vanished completely like Ruiz. When squad assembled, Green didn't bother with radio. Just told us, locked down, no more patrols. We were trapped. By then, nobody trusted anyone. Mason accused Green of concealing orders. Green accused Mason of mental breakdown. Tucker swore he saw me whispering near panel, though I had no memory. We carried chambered rounds constantly, even inside tents. Nobody slept over an hour. Every sound alarmed, every shadow suspected. At evening meal, Mason refused eating, stared at ration like contaminated, then said, "It's feeding on us. That's why they never came. They knew." Green slammed him against wall, knife at throat, required dragging him off before bloodshed. We weren't squad anymore, just frightened men circling something we couldn't combat. Final straw came 3 nights later. Generator failed again. Complete darkness, valley black as pitch. Then we heard knocking. Slow, measured, from beneath panel. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 more, like someone trapped inside requesting release. Mason whispered, "If it escapes, we don't leave this hill alive." Nobody argued. That's when I understood it wasn't paranoia destroying us. Something below was real, something alive, or worse, and without action, it would only strengthen. The night it finally erupted, air was so motionless I heard my own pulse. No wind, no village sounds, just complete silence weighing on the outpost. 5 remained. Green, Mason, Tucker, myself, and Farley. Ruiz and Duran gone. 2 bunks vacant. Boots still arranged like they'd return. Mason hadn't spoken all day, just kept circling panel, mumbling. Green threatened restraints again, but didn't follow through. Looked too exhausted enforcing anything. 0100 hours, it resumed. Knocking. Slow, steady, from beneath panel. Each impact vibrated through earth like knocking our bones. Tucker broke, shouldered his carbine, fired 3 rounds into stone before Green wrestled weapon away. Rounds sparked, ricocheted harmlessly. Panel didn't even crack. Then ground groan, deep grinding, shift-shaking entire outpost. Ammunition containers fell. Sandbags burst. Southern Hesco bulged like something pressed from below. "Positions!" Green shouted, voice breaking. "Everyone online!" We scrambled to walls, weapons out, observing valley. But nothing moved outside. Sound rose from directly beneath. Panel began sinking, not lifting, not breaking, sinking like earth swallowing it. Dust clouds rose, coating throats. Engravings illuminated faint red, glowing through cracks. Mason sprinted toward it, screaming Ruiz's name. Green tackled him midway, but Mason fought maniacally, scratching Green's face until Farley and I restrained him. While holding him, gap opened along panel's center. Air rushed out hot, moist, carrying decay stench. Smelled like mass grave exposed after years. Knocking ceased. Then whispering came, not faint now, clear. Dozens of overlapping voices, layered, speaking languages that twisted hearing. One English word, another Dari, another unrecognizable. Together forming nothing and everything simultaneously. Madness choir leaking from earth. Tucker fled. Vaulted wire sprinted into valley. vanishing into darkness. Nobody pursued. Gap widened. We illuminated it. Wish I hadn't. Bodies. Dozens, possibly hundreds, compressed like clay sculptures, skin stretched tight, eyes open, glowing faintly. They writhed together, clawing upward, mouths opening, divided by closing soundlessly while whispers poured out. One face prominent in mass, Ruiz, eyes burning pale yellow, lips moving with others, chanting incomprehensible words, hands reaching up, fingers scraping stone edge, trying to pull himself free. Farley opened fire, screaming. Rounds tore into writhing figures, but instead of blood, dust and ash sprayed up, holes sealed almost instantly. Faces didn't react. That's when Green threw fragmentation grenade, landed in Gap, detonated, blasting stone and dirt skyward. Voices shrieked, high-pitched, layered, making ears bleed. But dust settling, Gap remained, wider now. Panel wasn't containing them anymore, was releasing them. Figures began emerging, not quickly, slow, deliberate, dragging themselves into yard individually, naked, gray, eyes burning faint like embers. Bodies appeared half-formed, like flesh forgot. Proper bone placement. We engaged. Controlled bursts, full magazines, grenades. Nothing stopped them. Every hit just scattered them to dust that swirled before reassembling. One reached Farley. Hands sank into his chest like clay, fingers sliding between ribs. He didn't scream. Body just sagged, eyes rolling back like something drained his life. Then collapsed, empty. I fired until it became dust, but Farley didn't move. Green dragged me toward command post, shouting into radio for fire support. Static only. Command wasn't monitoring. Or signal never left hill. Mason broke free, sprinting to panel. Fell to knees, pressing forehead against glowing engravings, chanting with voices below. Green aimed at him. I knocked it aside. Momentarily thought Mason lost, but then he pulled grenade from vest, extracted pin with teeth, pressed it to Gap. Looked at me once, just once, clear-eyed, first time in days. Close it, he said. Blast destroyed yard. Dirt and stone fell, burying Mason and Gap in dust cloud. Voices screamed, then cut instantly. Air clearing, panels shattered, broken pieces smoking in dirt. Gap gone, just packed earth. No glow, no sound. But Mason gone too. We staggered into command post. Just. Green and myself. Tucker vanished into valley. Farley dead. Ruiz and Duran taken. Mason buried himself with entity. Green sat on ammunition container, shaking, staring at dirt on hands. Command knew, he said, voice flat. Never meant to hold this place. Meant to feed it until someone discovered permanent closure. Didn't respond. Ears still rang from blast. Rifle still trembled in hands. Outpost quiet again. No whispers, no knocking, just burned dust smell and gunfire echo hanging over us. But quiet didn't feel safe. Felt like pause, like whatever existed under Raheem wasn't dead, just buried deeper, waiting. Dawn came gray, silent. Valley stretched below, peaceful like nothing occurred. No orchard movement, no distant firing, no villagers on. Trails just empty world. Two remained, myself and Sergeant Green. We interred Farley behind North Fortification, marking grave with rifle bayonet. Had nothing for Mason. Blast took him and whatever emerged. Green stood over crater, helmet in hands, lips moving wordlessly. Tucker never returned. Told myself he still ran through desert, alive somewhere. Deep down knew he was gone like others. We remained inside wire, awaiting command response. Green called radio hourly, static only. Second day I took tower, spotted figures at valley edge. Initially thought Taliban, but magnification made blood freeze. Villagers, not approaching, not armed, just kneeling in wide circle around hill base. Heads bowed like praying or grieving. Couldn't determine which. Told Green, he didn't look. No knocking, no whispers. Panels shattered, pieces scattered across yard. Kicked one with boot, crumbled like dried clay. No longer glowed, but atmosphere remained heavy. Outpost was tomb now. Every sound we made echoed excessively. Every silence extended too long. Dreamed of Mason's face, peaceful that final second before detonation. Dreamed of Ruiz, whispering unknown language. Green didn't dream. Saturday awake, staring at dirt where panel had been. Caught him once tracing broken symbols with finger. Asked what he was doing. Said, ensuring it's still closed. Fifth day, helicopter finally arrived. Chinook, twin rotors pounding ridge. We ran to landing zone, packs already prepared. Green carried nothing, just rifle and cloth fragment he kept pocketed. Crew chief shouted bored. Green stopped at ramp. "I'm not leaving it," he said, eyes hollow but steady. "Someone must stay. You saw what happens if it reopens." Grabbed his arm, begged, told him Mason already sacrificed closing it. Green shook head. "Isn't closed, not permanently. You felt it." Crew chief yelling, waving us. Inside. Tried dragging Green, but he pulled free. Momentarily thought he'd raise weapon, forcing me to leave. Instead turned toward Outpost. "You go," he said. "Tell them it's sealed. Tell them never dig here again." Then walked through dust as rotors lifted. Never saw him again. At Bagram, they isolated me 3 days. Officers in pristine uniforms asked identical questions repeatedly. What happened to Ruiz, Duran, Farley? Why did Green remain? Gave them fragments. Contact lost on patrol. Possible ambush. Multiple killed in action. Sergeant Green volunteered remaining at Outpost. When pressed harder, said panel collapsed during seismic event. That's all. Some took notes. Others just stared with eyes, saying they didn't believe anything but also didn't care. Fourth day, they released me, provided leave papers, and flight home. Been home 10 years now. Married, children, employment, not requiring weapons. Should have left Raheem behind by all logic. Haven't. Nights when house quiets, still hear it. Faint. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 more coming from beneath floorboards. Sometimes dream of Green still at that outpost, rifle across lap, waiting for ground movement again. Other times dream Mason's voice whispering from crater, begging maintain seal. Sometimes dream Ruiz standing bedside, dust pouring from mouth while whispering incomprehensible words. Command will never acknowledge our discovery. They'll bury it in documentation, call it collapsed outpost, lost to enemy action or logistics failure. They'll construct new FOB elsewhere, and Raheem will recede into earth. But I know truth. Some doors shouldn't open, some graves shouldn't be exposed. And deep in Afghanistan, beneath forgotten ridge, something still waits for another hand lifting the lid. When it happens, won't surprise me if first name called is mine. Still watching without subscribing? Fix that immediately. Subscribe now. Comments section, share your nation and viewing time.